Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schwab Coaching. My name is Cameron May. I'm a Senior Manager of Trading and Derivatives here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And Getting Started is exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about using Thinkorswim Desktop for the very first time. We're going to be talking through what I might consider to be some of the essential elements of that platform for a first-time user. We're going to be discovering how do we find Thinkorswim? How's it downloaded? How do we get logged in? How do we find our account balances, place a trade, track a trade? All of that stuff should be a great discussion. I'm really looking forward to it. Before we can get to that, though, let me first of all say hello to everybody who's chatting in out there in YouTube. Great to see so many familiar names. Hello there, Eva and Jerry, Life in the Fast Lane, David, John, who else is out there? Will and Kevin and everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. We really do appreciate your attendance and your contributions to these live discussions. If you're here for the very first time, I want to welcome you as well. There were a couple of names out there that I didn't entirely recognize, so great to have the first timers here. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, we'll enjoy the presentation, but be aware that you're invited to join us in the live discussion if you'd like to be here. This is a Wednesday webcast series, and we kick things off promptly at 2 Eastern time. Love to have you in the live stream audience. And as a special treat for the members of our live stream audience today, we have my very good friend Kevin Horner is going to be hanging out in the chats. Kevin's going to be addressing any questions that I can't get to just during the natural flow of the presentation. Thanks for having my back there, Kevin. And Kevin and I would like to issue an invitation to everybody listening. If you have an account with X, give us a follow there. You should be following your favorite presenters there on X. You can find Kevin there at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. But let's get into this discussion. The very first thing we need to do, of course, is to address the risks associated with investing and trading. They are certainly something to bear in mind. So the information here is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research. And investing involves risks, including the loss of principal. Okay, so with that said, let's set a brief agenda for what we're going to be talking about today. We're talking, first of all about using the Thinkorswim trading software desktop platform for the very first time. So I want to make sure that we cover how to download the software, how to navigate the software, and how to plan trades and track those trades and find our balances, all those kinds of things. So let's go right to the downloading of the software. So Raul says, Cameron, how do I remove the volume tab on the charts? Can't get rid of it for the life of me. Thanks, Raul. How about we do this? Because I'm planning to hit some chart functionality in this discussion. Let me just add that as an element to that part of the discussion. All right, I think that's a good one. But let's go right to, where do we download this? Well, Thinkorswim can actually be downloaded free of charge from within your Schwab online account. So you just log in. So I have here an example Schwab account. And you'd go up here to the Trade tab, click on that, and in the pop-up menu, over to the right, we'll see Trading Platforms, Thinkorswim Desktop. Really, from there, it's pretty straightforward. We just click on Thinkorswim Desktop, and we're going to look for a big blue bar or a big blue button. As we scroll down, you'll see it says Learn How to Enable Thinkorswim. Just click on that, and it'll just guide you through that process. This is the process where we have a PC or a Mac. But when we download the software, it actually creates an icon on one's computers, on your desktop, and it also puts Thinkorswim into, it's one of the programs in your computer start menu. So a couple of different ways to access the software. I just typically click on the desktop icon, it launches it. You can see that icon right down here in my bar down at the bottom of my screen. But when we click on that, it's going to bring up a screen that looks like this. So it's a login screen. Yeah, I'll just leave it right there. That's just fine. But you can see it's prompting us for a login ID. And if this is the first time we've logged in, there might be a little bit of a panic moment. Oh no, I don't have a Thinkorswim login ID. Yes, we do. If we've successfully downloaded Thinkorswim from Schwab, we know that we have a Schwab login ID. Just use the same one. We use that here, and then we'll enter our password, and we'll have our Thinkorswim launched. Now, one thing that the trader wants to note before they put in that login information is down at the bottom, there's going to be a prompt. It's asking, hey, do we want access to our live accounts? Because Thinkorswim can connect us to our live trading portfolios and investing portfolios. We can manage those, and it gives us a whole suite of potential new tools for the management of those portfolios. But we also have, and this is one of the great features of Thinkorswim, what's something known as paper money. This is a practice platform that functions almost exactly the same way. And I'm going to be using a practice platform, the paper money platform, throughout this demonstration. So you'll see the extent of the functionality there. But yeah, we can either log into our live accounts, or we can log into paper money. Now, one other thing I want to note is we can actually do both at the same time. Let's say that we've logged into our paper money account and we land on this screen. When we first log in, we wind up on the home screen. I'm going to start our navigation from there, but I get the common question, hey, Cameron, I don't like that I have to log out of paper money and then go log into my live account. We don't. We can actually have both running at the same time. The way to do that is once one is up and running, we come down to our icon again, right click on it, or just click on it on your Mac, and then choose Thinkorswim again in your pop-up menu. And that's going to bring up that same login screen, and we can log in then and choose live. So we have paper money going, and we have our practice account going and our real account going at the same time. A final suggestion I might make here is that if we have both going at the same time, you might want to change the color scheme on one of those. So I'll show you just quickly. My paper money is what's being displayed right now. Here is my live account. Now, if I go up here to the top in the upper right-hand corner, what I've actually done here is just changed my live platform to a dark color scheme. So there's no question. If I'm looking at the dark one, that's my live account. I don't make mistakes. And in this case, it's just an example live account, so I wouldn't make a mistake anyway. But yeah, you want to create a distinction between these two. One's for practice, one's for live trading. And that can be done right up here in the upper right-hand corner, this little gear. Click on that, go to application settings, choose look and feel. We're changing the look and feel of the platform. And you'll notice right here it says color scheme. We can choose light or dark. I'm going to leave mine as dark. And we come down here and click apply settings to set that. I've already applied it. So I'm going to leave it there. Let's go back to our paper money though. So now that we're all set up, we now have access. We've downloaded the software. We have access to our live trading. We have access to our paper money trading. Let's get acquainted with the general navigation of the platform. And then I want to hit on some of those highlight essential elements of the platform that everybody seems to ask about first. Cameron, where do I find my existing positions? How do I know my balances? How do I plan a trade? How do I place a trade? So when we first log in, we find ourselves here on the home screen, and the general navigation is actually accomplished using these bars over to the left. These are generically known as gadgets. And then across the top, there are some tabs. And the first thing I'm going to do, maybe encourage you to do, is click on the monitor tab. The monitor, just like we might suspect, great name. It's where we go to monitor existing orders and existing positions. So we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail. But I also want to talk about what's just to the left of that. What you'll notice there is this area that's called account info. And so this addresses the question, Cameron, what are my balances? How much is my account worth? How much cash do I have? Yeah, the account info right here has an area called the net lick and day trades. That's a fancy way of saying, how much is this account worth? This is a $219,000, we'll call it a $220,000 account. And within that $220,000, I have about $43,000 of cash. So that contributes to the total of $220,000. So we're already starting to get fairly acquainted with this. Another common question is, Cameron, how do I navigate between my different accounts? That can be found. Yeah, I never eat here, says Cameron. How do I find the add a million to my account button? You say that kind of tongue in cheek. Well, we can do that on Paper Money. Haven't discovered how to do that yet with the real account other than just sending $1 million check. But yeah, there actually is, if you'll notice, adjust account. That's found on the simulated trading platform, not on the live platform. Yeah. Anyway, some of you might not have even known that the adjust account function, those even familiar with the platform, might not know that we can actually adjust the size of the account, because some people like to represent a larger practice portfolio. Others might want to represent a smaller practice portfolio. Okay. But navigation among the different accounts linked in the overall portfolio can be done right up here at the top. So I'm going to click on that. And what you'll notice here is that I can find all of my accounts. Let me just select that. And that's going to list all of my linked accounts. I can scroll down through and find all of the positions and balances down below. Or I can see individual accounts. So for example, I have a practice margin account and a practice IRA account. So the IRA has about $200,000 in it. The margin account has about $220,000 in it. And the total of all accounts have about $400,000. So how about we switch this over to our margin account for the rest of this demonstration. But I know that the first exposure to the Thinkorswim platform can be a little bit intimidating, because there is quite a suite of trading and investing tools and resources that are available here, but it doesn't have to be intimidating. All right, but the rest of the navigation is done through the gadgets and then the tabs across the top. So let's get into some of these, and I want to start with just some of the basic features. How about we go through some of the existing positions in this example portfolio, and then we're going to go maybe plan a new trade. I'm going to show how to place that trade, and we're going to track that trade, right? So here we are on the Monitor tab. As we move across the top, we can see the Trade tab. That's where we'd go place trades. We have an Analyze tab. I'm not really going to get into that one deeply. That's probably going to be more for our options traders. My apologies. I can't cover all the functions in an introductory discussion. We can scan for potential trade candidates here. Market watch tools allow us to keep tabs on maybe important developments in the markets. Watch like an economic calendar. We can check on which sectors are doing best, all of those sorts of things in the Market Watch tab. Here's our charting functionality. We have a tools area. Highlight of that, I think, for some is going to be the ThinkScript capability for our more advanced users of Thinkorswim. They may like to create custom tools. Those can be done with that ThinkScript tool. Education is where we would go to learn more about Thinkorswim. It's one of the resources that's available for learning more about Thinkorswim. In particular, I'd suggest the Learning Center has some great tools for learning more about Thinkorswim. But finally, if we want to call and talk to somebody, we can go to the Help. But here we are on the Monitor tab. Let's see, Ron says, in accounts, can Paper Money and a real IRA be displayed? Not on the same platform. We can have different logins at the same time, Ron, but not combine them both. That would that could get pretty messy pretty quickly. So those are kept intentionally very separate. Poppy says, does TOS paper trading reset periodically? Poppy, no, it updates constantly. Resetting, meaning going back to default, starting over with a fresh $200,000 or whatever we set it up with. No, it doesn't do that. We have the ability to do that ourselves. We can hit reset. Doesn't do it all by itself. Okay, but the Monitor tab is where we'd go to monitor existing positions. And as we go down here under where it says unallocated, because we can allocate these individual positions to what we call groups, probably not going to do much of that today. But down here, we can see this portfolio currently consists of 5 positions: BAC, Meta, NEE, Visa, and Walmart. We can see the quantity here, 100 shares of BAC, 10 shares of Meta. Off to the right, we can see the trade price that was paid to enter into these positions. The mark on Thinkorswim stands for the current market value of those positions. So if you're just wondering, I wonder what the current price of a stock is, that's what we would look to, the mark or the market price value. The PL open is how much we have made or lost in unrealized gains or losses since we opened these trades. And that includes profits or losses that accrued today. So this is profit or loss for the day. And then finally, we have a column that's called BP effect. That's our buying power effect for users of margin accounts. This is how much it reduces the available borrowing capacity in the account. Now, not everybody uses that. It's not going to be interesting to everybody, but that's what that stands for. Now, these columns are customizable. Anytime on Thinkorswim, we see a little gear like this one right here, we can click on that and customize those columns, or at least most of them. So right here, I can see the customizable columns in our current set of columns, and then I have all these other choices of columns to choose from. And there are, I don't know, I've never counted them, hundreds of potential columns. Let's just say maybe our investor is looking to add the sector for each of these stocks. Let's just add that as a column. Click OK. And what we'll see now is we can see which sector each of these companies belongs to. Brand new column. So we check the questions again. Ricebird says, I did have to reset my paper money a couple of weeks ago. I think I got it all messed up. That's a possibility. Yeah, sometimes, we just want to, we've done some experimenting. It was fun. We just want to go back to basics. Yeah, we can reset the portfolio using this adjust account. That would be done. And we want to do this only if we really want to reset. We can reset all balances and positions right there. But again, that wipes the slate clean. Only do that if you want to go back to the beginning. All right. But this, even though this is a practice account, this knowledge that we're picking up about the navigation carries over directly to the live account. So the nice thing about having a paper money platform is that it functions so similarly to live account. We can practice with new tools. We can also practice with new investing and trading techniques. We can also practice with new trading strategies. We can practice maybe with a new technical indicator that we've learned. All of that done in an environment where there's really no risk. And by default, this portfolio is set up with $200,000 of practice, paper money. All right, so those are our existing or our current positions. And we can see how those are performing right down here. We can see how those are adding up to a total value right up here. But how do we now place a new trade? I get that question all the time from new users of Thinkorswim. So Cameron, just show me the basics. Show me how to find a stock chart so I can look at the stock and I can formulate a plan for a trade, and then show me how to place that trade. So let's make sure that we can do that. Let's go over here to our, by the way, somebody saying, or I'd Never Eat here saying, hope you had a great vacation. Definitely. But let's go to our charts tab. And, we have Meta here. Meta is one of the existing positions in our monitor page already. But let's just start with maybe a blank slate. Now, for this part of the discussion, I'm not going to be using this left column. So I don't need it. It's actually using up some of the sort of visual real estate on the platform. So we can hide this left column with this little toggle, this margin right between our gadgets and the rest of our Thinkorswim platform, just by clicking on this little arrow. So if I click on that, that's a hide function. If I want it back, I can unhide or reveal the gadgets again. Let's hide that. And let me just clean up. Right now, you can see there's a line running through the price chart. Let me just take that off so we can start with just a basic layout here. All right, if we didn't have a symbol, we can just type that symbol in, or if we didn't have a chart already up, we can just type that symbol in up here. So we already know Meta, we can type in Meta. If we don't know the symbol for Meta, we can actually just start typing in the name, and it will propose to us. You'll notice there's a menu here that's popping up It's trying to kind of guess what we are interested in trading. For example, let's say instead, maybe we were looking at Oracle. We didn't know the symbol for Oracle. We'll just type in the word Oracle, and there's Oracle Corporation. ORCL is the symbol. I'm going to select that. As we look over across this row of information, as we're starting to think about formulating a trade here, we can see the current quote for Oracle. We can see whether it's up or down for the day. We can see, we can access a number of tools over here to the right. And I'm going to be showing some of these functions on some of the sort of what I would consider to be the more essential functions on the platform for a first-time user. But I'm going to make a recommendation here. We're going to wrap things up in about 20 more minutes. But if you see something that looks particularly intriguing and you want to explore that more, I've actually delivered a series of 8 lessons on really getting started with thinkorswim in greater detail. So let me make a quick suggestion for you. First of all, make sure that you have subscribed to our Trader Talks channel. Down in the lower right of the video window right now, you'll see a subscribe button. You click on that, it subscribes you to our YouTube channel. It only takes a second. It doesn't cost anything. It's always nice. But our YouTube channel is where we house previous webcasts. You know, once this live stream is concluded, the vast majority of our live streams are then put on our channel under our playlist. So subscribe to the channel, find Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcasts on YouTube, and you can find the playlist right here. And I have a playlist for you for really getting more than just this high-level introduction to the thinkorswim platform. You can find that right here. It kind of has Connie's face on there because she was filling in for me last week in this discussion. But you click on View Full Playlist and scroll down a bit, and here are my 8 lessons. Lessons 1 of 8, lesson 1 of 8, lesson 2 of 8, lesson 3 of 8. And I go through what we're doing today, but also so much more. Really understanding the monitor tab, really understanding the trade tab, and so on. Poppy says, I have tabs on the right side of your screen vertically. I don't know how they got there. You're a beginner. So yeah, so I would suspect if you have tabs on the right, that means maybe you're over here on our chart. Are you talking about these off here to the right? These are tabs that give you access to different functions on the chart. Not really going to get too much into that today, but I did want to introduce on this charting tool, how do we add maybe a technical study or indicator to our chart? How do we change the time frame of our chart? Maybe how do we make some drawings on the chart? So let's do this first. Let's click on our Edit Studies, and we're going to add a technical indicator. Some traders call it indicators, some call these studies, but there are hundreds of technical indicators out there in the trading universe. I'm just going to give one that I think this is most likely the most commonly used technical indicator. Doesn't mean it's the best. It's just the one that we probably hear talked about most frequently, known as a moving average. It's just an indication potentially of things like a stock's trend or maybe price floors and price ceilings. But I'm going to type in the word simple here. You'll notice our indicators are found in alphabetical order, but we can also do a keyword search for an indicator if we know what we have an interest in adding to the chart. I'm going to add a simple moving average. Just click Add Selected, and you'll see this is preparing to add this to our price chart. Now, in this case, I'm going to take one additional step. I'm going to customize this just a little bit. By default, you know, thinkorswim, as great as it is, doesn't know what's going on in the trader's mind. So it has to choose a default for these different indicators. And this one, by default, is using 9 periods, or in this case, 9 days worth of data. So I'm going to edit that. Let's go over here and click on the little gear icon and change this to maybe 20 days worth of data, showing us generally what have prices done over the course of the last 20 days. So let me click OK and click Apply. And if you aren't familiar with a moving average, what we're left with here is that green line. We already saw it on Meta, But for some traders, a simple moving average represents maybe a potentially clearer view of what a trend of a stock is doing. And so those traders might look for a stock where their moving average is going up as an indication of continued bullishness on the stock. Really what this one is doing, since I chose 20, this simple moving average is just showing us what the average closing price of Oracle has been over the last 20 days. So this 155.09 tells us basically the average closing price for Oracle has been about $155 over the last 20 days. If we were to look at the same average, back in April, that would have been lower. So that average changes over time, and that might give us an indication of the general direction of the stock. So for some traders, that can be an important indication of trend, but it also might be a possible price floor. So let's say our trader is looking to see that price has recently come down close to average and maybe starting to strengthen up off of that level. And so they think, oh, this looks good. We have a generally upward trending stock that looks like it's bouncing higher, and maybe they're ready to buy. So we're going to be placing an example trade here just based on that. Before we do that, I'm going to show you a couple of other functions on this chart, but also I think I saw a couple of things here in the chat. Raul says, can you add multiple moving averages? Yep, sure can, Raul. All you have to do is go through that same process. It'll just stack them up, and you just customize using the same customize function that I just demonstrated. Let's see. Frankie says, apologies, I arrived late. How do you know which workspace you're in when you have multiple saves? So Frankie, the one thing that I suggested was changing the color scheme. So this is my paper money. Now, obviously up in the upper left, when we're in paper money, it'll say simulated trading. That's awfully reassuring to me. I don't know about you. Feels nice to see that, okay, this is simulated, it's not real. The live account does not say simulated up in the upper left, but it's also, I changed the color scheme to be black. So if you want to go back and watch the archive for this, I showed how to do this a little bit earlier. So just in the interest of time, I'm not going to repeat that, but just know that it was covered and it will be in the archive. All right. So Janice says, how do you save this chart so you can use it? Great question, Janice. We actually don't need to. Now, I'm not going to go, there is a way, yes, absolutely, where we can get fancy. We can set up all sorts of combinations of technical indicators, and we might not want to use that particular combination on every chart going forward, so we save it as what we call a study, save as a study set. I'm not going to do that today, but I just want to let you know that if I finish up this session on Thinkorswim and I close it down, and then I relaunch it and I bring up the next stock chart, as long as I haven't removed that moving average, it's going to be on that next symbol the next time I use Thinkorswim. We don't need to save at all. Matter of fact, for the most part, there's no need to save things on Thinkorswim. So let me demonstrate that. Let's say that instead of a 1-year daily chart, which is what we're using right now, maybe our trader has a preference for a little bit closer view. We can change our time frame on Thinkorswim right up here. D stands for day. That's just telling me that each candle stands for 1 day's worth of activity. Let's say I wanted to switch this, and I could choose from a menu of default time frames. Like I could go to let's say a 3-year weekly chart, or I could pop up here and go to more of a custom time frame. Let's set our time interval to maybe let's go for maybe 6 months, but I still want days. Let's just click OK there. So now I have a closer view of this chart. If I close things out and then came back, let's say in 2 weeks and relaunch Thinkorswim, this will still have that moving average applied, and it will still be on a 6-month chart, even if I switch over to General Electric or bring up Amazon or whatever. All right, now a final thing that I wanted to demonstrate is the drawing capabilities. But there's so many things I'd love to get into today, but we're just hitting what I would consider to be some of the more commonly asked questions, some of those things that a lot of people feel like are the essential elements of the platform. So the drawing tools can obviously be accessed right up here under drawings. I click on that. I go down to drawing tools, and then I get this menu of tools. But maybe a potentially quicker way is to just go down here in the lower right to what's called the active tool. Right now, my active tool is set up to draw trend lines, and I could choose drawing tools here. I could make ovals, make text notes, but I'm going to go back to that trend line tool, right? But when I make a drawing on the chart, let's say that our trader also noted as we were coming down to this moving average, looks like we bounced right at about, about at 155 bucks. But that previously has been potentially an important area of price floors and price ceilings. As I draw a line there, and the way that I draw that line once I've selected the tool is just click once where I want to start the line, and then click once where I want to end the line. That makes the line. Okay. Now I've customized my line. It's not necessary. When you first draw your very first line, it's probably going to be a thin black line. But once we've drawn a line, that stays on that chart until we delete it. I don't need this one up here. I'm going to right click on that, and let's just remove that drawing. All right, so we've learned how to enter a symbol. We've learned how to change our time frames, put up technical studies on the chart, add drawings. Let's say that our trader just thinks the stock is likely to continue higher. Maybe it's going to go back up to these highs that it's seen before. They think maybe it's going to go up 10%-ish up to these previous highs. No guarantee. Time will tell. But let's go buy the stock. George says another way that you can access those drawing tools is to right click. Yep, you can do that too. Lots of ways that we can access different tools on Thinkorswim. But I'm going to go over here now and let's place a trade. Let me click on trade. I mean, it's kind of intuitive. If we want to place a trade, we're going to go to the trade tab. Now, my system is actually set up. It's cheating a little bit. I've linked what's going on with my charts to what's going on with my trade tab. Right next to the symbol box, there's a little chain link right there. And there's also one on the symbol box on the trade tab, little chain link right there. If they are set to the same number, that links the symbol on the chart to automatically populate the same symbol on the trade tab. And you'll see that functionality throughout the Thinkorswim platform. So that's how we link those two. So we don't have to always type in the symbols over and over again. For some traders, they really like the speed. When they see something on the chart that's intriguing, they just want to pop over to the trade tab, place a trade. Yes, there are definitely other ways to do this, to place a trade, but that's one quick way. But let's place a trade. Don't have to link things. I just wanted to show you that link function. But down below, when we've typed in our symbol, right down below, there's all kinds of information regarding options trading. I'm not going to be demonstrating that today. But to buy a stock, what we would do is go to where we see the current bid price and the current ask price of the stock, just below our symbol on the trade tab. And as I point at the number under the word ask, there's a little tiny word right next to my cursor. I know it's almost impossible to see from your perspective. A little tiny word, buy, appears. Yeah, if I click on that number, it creates a buy order right down below. Oh, I promised, you know what? I might have to hit the pause button here for just a moment because I made a promise at the outset of this discussion. I just remembered, John said something about volume. Sorry. John was asking Kevin a question, but the word volume triggered my memory. Somebody says they can't get their volume to show up on their charts. Let me show you that. That's a perfectly common question. So going back to our charts, that's one of our chart settings. That's this little gear. When we want to customize things on Thinkorswim, look for a gear. We've customized a few things already. We customized the time frame of our moving average. We clicked on a gear to do that. We customized light versus dark on the platform. We clicked on a gear to do that. Well, to customize whether we have volume displayed on our chart or not, we're going to click on that gear. And we want the equities. It's a stock is an equity. We go to equities and show volume. All right, click apply. Now we can see our volume on our chart. I typically don't have it displayed, so I'm just going to go back here and apply to remove that. All right, but let's go back and place our trade. I'll delete it just so you can see it again. Go to the trade tab, type in our symbol, click on the ask price, boom. There's our trade all set to go. It's actually a complete order if we like the way it's already constructed. Raul, you asked that? Great. All right, I'm glad I remembered to do that. But notice this creates a buy order for stock. By default, it's 100 shares. We don't have to buy 100 shares. We can actually just delete whatever's in there, and type in, let's say we wanted to buy 30 shares. Okay, 30 shares of Oracle. Current price is 163 bucks. Matter of fact, let's dial that down. It's just an example. Why not? Let's take it down to 1 share. But here's our price. $163.23 is the approximate current price. This is not a guarantee that this price is what we're going to pay, but we can set what's called a limit. Hey, I don't want to pay more than this. That can be done. Or among other order types, we could choose a market order. Market order just means, hey, I'll just pay whatever the market price is, just get me in. So for this order, for this example, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to buy 1 share of Oracle in our simulated trading environment for the current market price. And we're going to click confirm and send. Now this is another one of those moments that can be a little bit tense the first time we do it, but this is a simulated environment, and confirm and send does not actually mean we're about to send the order off. This just actually brings up a confirmation screen where it gives us one last chance to read through, make sure this is what we want to do. It also gives us this reassurance when we're in the paper money. Hey, Cameron, this is a simulation, not a real trade. Great. Okay. It's a simulation. We're going to buy 1 share of Oracle at the market price. This is to open a new position. Looks like that's set to cost us about $163.26. There's not a commission on this trade, but there can be on some types of trades. It's even given us a nice little handy reminder down here. Hey, Cameron, with market orders, prices can change quickly in fast market conditions, resulting in execution prices that can be different from the quotes displayed at order entry. That's an important disclosure. But let's send this off. I never eat here says I was doing options for so long, you'd briefly forgotten how to buy shares. It came back to me. Believe me, yeah, there are functions on Thinkorswim that even I have to remind myself, how did I used to do that? Let me send that off. And in just a moment, there we go. Yeah, the markets are open. So this example trade just filled for $163.27. Now, where do I go now? Let's close the loop on this. As we're getting acquainted with Thinkorswim, we're starting to get familiar with the general navigation. Where do I go to track that trade that I just placed? Well, rather than tracking it, let's say, where do I go to monitor that trade? Let's go to the monitor tab. And included on this monitor tab are things like I can see my working orders right here. This is under today's trading activity. So these are working orders, are orders that I placed but haven't filled. Down below, I can see my filled orders. Hey, I just bought 1 share of Oracle. I paid $163.27. I also earlier, before the webcast started, I bought 10 shares of Meta, paid $646.35. Down below here, I can see how there's a, it's not static, but it's a, this is where we would go to just to check the progress of these trades. So this tells us that the trade filled. Let's see how it's doing. So we can come down here and see there's our 1 share of Oracle, paid $163.27. Yeah, we now know that it's in the information technology sector because we added that as a column earlier. And oh, good. It's up 29 cents since we bought it a few seconds ago. So, guys, that is a nice introduction to just the essentials of using Thinkorswim for the very first time. We've gone through downloading Thinkorswim. We've gone through the general layout of Thinkorswim. We've acquainted ourselves with how to place a trade, how to track a trade. But there's a lot more to learn about Thinkorswim, obviously. So a couple of resources for you if you're new. First of all, just be aware that under the Education Center, or the Education tab, you may want to check out something called the Learning Center. Included on this, and when I'm doing a webcast, it can take a moment to load because it's pretty good demand on the bandwidth here for a moment. But specifically, look for something called the Think Manual. It'll be right there at the top. Think Manual even has like a glossary of terms. It just teaches us all about Thinkorswim. Another resource that we have is our webcasts. Make sure that we have subscribed to our YouTube channel because we do new webcasts every day the markets are open. We're doing 7 or 8 webcasts, most of which actually actively involve the usage and the navigation of Thinkorswim, and one of which is actually dedicated to learning about Thinkorswim. And that is this webcast series called Getting Started with Thinkorswim. So on Thinkorswim, pardon me, no, on YouTube, find our Trader Talks Schwab Coaching webcast channel. Go right here to our playlists. And I've already shown you one, which is that structured series of 8 lessons. But I also have an ongoing series where I just go deeper and deeper into Thinkorswim. We can find that. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom. Right on down to the bottom. Somebody has to be at the bottom. There's Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And as I click on View Full Playlist, so I know somebody was a little bit late arriving today. That's great. This is where you would go and find all the previous webcasts for this series. All right. But everybody, Eva says, yeah, you have more than 200 positions. So should I build more groups? Can be handy, Eva. It's a nice little feature on Thinkorswim. Anyway, everybody, thanks for giving me your time today. It is time for me to let you go. There's your introduction to the Thinkorswim platform, using Thinkorswim desktop for the first time, those beginner essentials. Hope you've enjoyed it. Kevin, thanks for helping out. Everybody, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Also, make sure that you're following Kevin and me on X. You can find Kevin on X at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me there on X at Cameron May CS. There's my handle right there on X, and you can see, my most recent post. This is a great place to connect with your favorite presenters in between the live streams. It's a good place for us to be able to ask questions of our audience and get some feedback. So make sure that you're following us. There is a nifty new feature. This isn't just for this webcast, but it's even for our veteran users of Thinkorswim. Let me scroll back up here to the top. Actually, let's go back here to the YouTube channel. And under the posts, we get questions all the time. Cameron, when are the different coaches presenting it throughout the week and what topics are covered throughout the week? Here's a calendar that we just put together that has our faces. It has the days of the week. It has the topics covered. That's a quick way to find your favorite presenters and your favorite topics. Just go to the YouTube channel, click on posts. You'll find it there. All right, everybody, thanks for giving me your time today. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Kevin, again, thanks for helping out. I did not see a survey. Nope. But thanks for clicking that thumbs up, the like button on YouTube. If you've enjoyed a presentation, make sure that you're in the habit of clicking that like button. That sounds like applause to your presenter. It also gives a boost to their webcast, and the YouTube algorithm helps more people find these webcasts. I will see you again next week for this webcast. I have other webcasts each day of the week, so look for you in a future webcast. I'll also look for you on X. But whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.